Hello and welcome. I'm Mitchell Le Tissier and I'm here with Matt to preview this weekend's FA Cup semi-finals for whichbookie.com. If you need a little reminder of what the games are, we've got Chelsea against Manchester City on Saturday, and then the second semi-final is Leicester City against Southampton on Sunday. Before we get into those, let's have a quick look at the outright market. We've got Manchester City as odds-on favourites at this stage, 5-6. We've got Leicester City 100-30. Chelsea 4-1 and Southampton are the massive outsiders at 11-1. Matt, do you think there's any value in that outright market, or have the bookies got it just about right?
I would say the bookies have probably got it just about right. As you know, City, the form that they're in at the moment, I think 5-6 is probably about right for their chances. Obviously, it's not a great price if you're looking for decent value for your money. But I think, Saints at 11-1. A lot of people are expecting, obviously, Leicester to win the semi-final. Realistically, I think the only chance Southampton have of actually winning the FA Cup is if Chelsea beat Man City. I think if that happens and we beat Leicester, then I think we have a slight chance against Chelsea, whereas against Manchester City, I wouldn't really give us any chance.
No, I think Southampton have got 2 draws this season against Chelsea.
Indeed they have, yeah. There's a 3-3 draw at Stamford Bridge earlier on, and then took the lead at St Mary's, and Mason Mount penalty levelled it up in that one. So yeah, they've given a fairly decent account of themselves against Chelsea so far this season.
Whereas against Manchester City, our record is somewhat more.
I mean, we did beat them at St Mary's last season. Shea Adams had that fantastic 40-yard strike, and then somehow we managed to keep a clean sheet in that game. I think Man City had about 75 attempts on goal, and Alex McCarthy had one of those days, which was fantastic. But yeah, I think realistically speaking, Manchester City in the final, you would have to say that they'd be massively odds-on favourites to go and win that.
Yeah, definitely. So you're not going to get rich backing them, but Manchester City would be the pick at this point.
Yeah, I mean, at 5-6, you're not going to get rich, but they're the best team in the league, and so if you don't mind small gains, then City at 5-6 is probably the way to bet at the moment.
Okay, well, let's have a look at the games themselves then. We've got the first semi-final, which is 5:30 on Saturday, which, as I said, is Chelsea against Manchester City. We've got some prices. These are sort of best available prices. You can have 7-2 Chelsea. This is 90 minutes, remember. Draw is 14-5, and you can back Manchester City to win the game in 90 minutes at 8-11. Chelsea obviously been pretty tight under Thomas Tuchel. A lot of clean sheets. Can they keep this Man City attack at bay?
I think they'll give it a real good go. I mean, their defensive record is pretty impressive. Obviously, they had the abomination against West Brom after they went down to 10 men. But apart from that, I mean, 13 clean sheets in 18 games since Tuchel took over is mightily impressive from a defensive point of view. On the flip side of that, you have to look at the goals in that Chelsea team, and it surprised me actually that at this stage of the season, Chelsea's top scorer have got 6 Premier League goals this season, which is very, very unusual for a team that's doing so well. A top team to not have somebody in double figures at this stage of the season is very, very odd.
Yeah, do you think that's because they've got almost too much attacking talent and they're having to chop and change and trying to keep everybody happy?
I think that's exactly hit the nail on the head for me. They have such an array of talent that they haven't really been able to have a consistent team going through the season. And always, for me, football is about little partnerships that go on in football matches. You get to know somebody's game really, really well. So if you're playing as a right-sided midfielder, you'll know if you're playing with a right back for 10, 12 games in a row, you get to know exactly what he's going to do in certain situations, and you're able to react off of that. And it's those small margins that sometimes makes real big differences in football matches. So I think for me, if a team does chop and change too much, I think it does just take a little bit away from their performance in terms of the cohesion that you get from teams that are regularly playing alongside the same people week in, week out.
Manchester City be the exception to that, purely just because of how much ridiculous attacking talent that they've got.
I think when you get to a level of a squad like Manchester City have got, that is when you can get away with it. And you can, because you've got such a depth of world-class talent, you can chop and change and you still get those players coming into a really high level, and they don't really have to have that instinct, those fine margins. They don't need those to go and beat other teams because they're such a good team and such a good squad. And it's the teams below that have to kind of use those things, those fine margins in games when you know instinctively what a player is going to be doing in certain situations. They're the things that kind of just help make the game a little bit more even.
Okay, so obviously you mentioned that you think Man City are probably the most likely winners of the tournament. I'm guessing that means you think they're going to win this game. Can you find a bet for us, maybe to beef up that 8-11?
Yeah, I think I'm expecting quite a high quality game of football, to be honest. I think we will see Manchester City dominating possession, but we know where Chelsea's strengths lie, and that is in that defensive department. They're very, very difficult to break down, and so Man City will have to be patient with their build-up play. But we know that that's what they do. They go through games and they're incredibly patient. They'll pass and pass and pass till they find the right moment to try and breach the defence. And so I do see it being a really tight game, if I'm honest. I think there will be goals, but I think there'll only be one goal in it. I think Manchester City will just come out on top of Chelsea. Something like a 2-1 is the scoreline that's coming into my head when I look at the quality of these two teams, and I think that scoreline for me, so you can use that as a handicap bet of Chelsea +1 to back the draw, that kind of stuff, and that will just beef up the odds a little bit if you don't fancy going for the 8-11 on Manchester City. Okay, and then you've got obviously the other options of Manchester City to win and both teams to score, which you can get 9-4 on, or you can cover yourself a little bit with the. There's always a chance that Man City blow anyone away. So Man City and over 2.5, you can have 15-8. Either of those interest you? Yeah, I mean, I could see it being a 3-2 even. I think Chelsea have got the quality in their players to nick a couple of goals. I don't have any doubt about that. So over 2.5 goals, I think is a very good bet.
Okay, and if you do fancy the Thomas Tuchel clean sheet machine to keep rolling on, you can have 18-5 about a Chelsea clean sheet.
Interesting. That is big odds for that, given that they've 13 in 18 games. That's pretty generous odds, but then again,
Man City
playing against Man City.
I think 30-something games since they didn't score.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's the Man United game. Is it the only game in a long time that they haven't scored? Yeah. So yeah, it's been pretty impressive from City.
Indeed. So we've got Man City with one foot in the final. Second semi-final, obviously, we're going to be having a bit of a heart v head in this. We have got enhanced offers on site through WhichBookie, so the link will be in the comments section of this YouTube video. You can have, with I think it's 888 Sport, you can have 9-1 on Leicester to win the game, or you can have 25-1 on Southampton to win the game, and that's available through WhichBookie. In terms of the standard odds, obviously we're 6:30 p.m. on Sunday, and this one's on BT Sport. We've got Leicester at a shade of odds on 19-20, the draw 11-4, and Southampton are 3-1. In terms of a bet in this one, where do you see this one going, and where can it be won and lost?
Yeah, obviously there's you're right, the heart and the head is two completely different things when it comes to this semi-final. But I think for me, given the form that Kelechi Iheanacho is in at the moment, I think as a first goal scorer option, I think he's a pretty good choice. I think he's fairly generous odds, around the 4-1 mark.
Same as Vardy, yeah. 4-1 Vardy.
So I think the form that he's in at the moment, he's looking the most likely player to score for Leicester at the moment. So that's one option where you're going to get some pretty decent odds. It's going to be an interesting one because obviously we all kind of know what happened a couple of seasons ago.
Don't say it.
And we can't really mention that, but don't want to mention it. But then, you have to understand that after that, just I think like 2 or 3 months after that, we go to Leicester and win up at their place. So, I think it is probably the best draw that we could have hoped for in the semi-final in terms of the Saints. And it gives us the best chance to get into the final. However, I think Leicester are a pretty quality lineup. I think they've shown this season, been in the top four for a heck of a long time. And I think they have got a lot of good quality in their team, and it is going to be a very difficult game for Southampton. I see it being a little bit of a struggle, and I think the first goal in this game is absolutely crucial, because at the moment I think the fragile confidence of Southampton, especially the defence, I think if we concede the first goal, I think that makes it incredibly difficult for us to go on and win the game against a team of that quality. I know we came back from 2 against Burnley, but I think Leicester are a very different proposition if they get their noses in front than what Burnley were. So for Southampton to have any chance in this game, I think they have to score the first goal.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned Leicester being in the top 4 for a lot of the season. It wasn't that long ago that Southampton were in the top 4. What do you think happened to Saints' form to cause it to fall off a cliff like it has?
I think it was perhaps a combination of a couple of things. I think the injuries started to play its part, because we don't have a very deep squad, and I think that for me was probably the biggest thing that happened. I think obviously Danny Ings, and it wasn't just injuries; it was injuries to key players who were in good form.
Yeah.
So Danny Ings, Yannick Vestergaard, Oriol Romeu. I mean, you could probably say our best 3 players of the season.
I think throw Kyle
Walker-Peters as well. You've got you know, he wasn't out for that long. It was a few games, a handful of games, but you know, it has been to the players that have been in the best form, and so that's been a huge blow to us. And you can't really cope with that when you don't have the squad depth that the big boys have, and unfortunately that's just the way of the world in the finance of the Premier League. We're not one of the big boys, and we have to accept that, and we have to know that for us to have a really good, consistent season, we have to try and get through that season without too many injuries, and too many injuries to the key players.
Yeah. So in terms of a bet for this one, are we backing Leicester at shades of odds on, or are we trying to beef that up with some kind of?
Shades of odds on, I think is fair. You know, given the quality of the 2 teams, I think if you want to try and beef it up, I think if I was looking at it impartially, I think I might look at perhaps Leicester -1, because I think if they get the first goal, I think they get more. And I said the importance of the first goal in the game. If Leicester get it, you know, with the confidence that the way our defence has been, I would expect us to probably be looking at 2 or 3 goals after that, and so perhaps Leicester -1, just to beef the odds up a little bit, might give you a little bit more value for money.
So you can get 11-4 Leicester -1, and you can get, as you mentioned earlier, Iheanacho, first goal scorer. You can have 4-1.
Obviously, I don't want that to happen.
No,
and
you've got to bet with your head and not with your heart.
My heart is telling me that we will get the first goal, and I think if we actually do get the first goal in the game, I think this has the makings of a really exciting football match, because I think that will bring Leicester forward a lot quicker. I think then we have the potential to try and use the counter attack to try and get more goals. So I think if Southampton get the first goal, it will make for a very good spectacle of a semi-final.
Indeed. Well, that's both semi-finals previewed, and we've had a look at the outright market as well. If you are having a bet this weekend, good luck, and make sure you do so responsibly. Indeed. All the best.
Good luck.